All right, Steve, let's start in Ann Arbor, where the consensus is Michigan is a playoff contender, but they've always been chasing Alabama and Georgia. The difference this year is they finally have a quarterback, a playmaker, instead of a game manager, and J.J. McCarthy. But we're also seeing Jim Harbaugh's skill in developing some of his lesser known players. We saw highlights from the second and third stringers in the win against UConn showing some depth there. And then there's guys like defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, who came in as a 3-star and now he's a starter. So Steve, still work to be done on this 2023 class. 14 commits, no 5-stars, 7 4-stars, 7 3-stars. Where do you see Harbaugh maximizing this class, and why is this something he does so well?
Well, I think, you look at Michigan, like you said, they've cracked the code of player development, in my opinion. They've done as good a job as anybody in the program of taking a young man when he walks in the door at 18 and maximizing his potential by the time he leaves as a senior at 22 years old. And it really culminated and came together this past season when they beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten championship, and made the college football playoff. And I think that J.J. McCarthy is a guy that can really elevate this program from here. As you said, they've had in the Coach Harbaugh era, which had 3 10-win seasons going into last year when they finally broke through and won 12 ball games. It's been a game manager at the position. And I think as you're trying to shave those extra 2 strokes on your golf game, or that extra tenth of a second in the 100-meter dash to be the best in the world. Those are the hardest strokes to shave, to go from 68 to 66 or 10-0 to 9-9. And that's kind of the air Michigan's breathing right now as they try and find 2 more wins at the end of a college football season, and the way that they're recruiting quarterback and getting J.J. McCarthy in there. He's a guy that was as a 24/7 Sports composite 5-star, I believe, has the skill set to be a game changer instead of the game manager that we've been accustomed to seeing at Michigan beforehand. But yeah, I mean, you look at what they've been able to develop in every position room under Coach Harbaugh has been fantastic. And even in this recruiting class, you look at guys like Inau Etta and Collins Achiapong, and you're talking about guys that are 6'5", 260 pounds, and 6'7", 254 pounds. And you look at Michigan, who's developed the defensive line position as well as anybody in college football in the Harbaugh era. You look at those guys' traits, and you're like, man, those 2 could be the next special guys at the point of attack for Michigan. Now they're in on some big time guys moving forward to catapult this class even higher in the rankings, but certainly like the foundation of what's in the fold for them in 2023. And again, I think when you look at this program, player development is their hallmark. And it's why they're one of the top 5 or 6 programs in college football right now, heading into late September.
All right, on the topic of player development, it helps when you have a group of guys who have been there, done that. There are 8 former Michigan players on this coaching staff, and they're ranging from teams from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and more recent years. Taking a look at the graphic here, there's Jim Harbaugh, obviously, Mike Hartz, the running backs coach. He's the all-time leading rusher at Michigan. He received a lot of Heisman votes back in the day. Ron Bellamy, the wide receiver coach. Mike Elston, he was actually just at Notre Dame. He left when Brian Kelly did, so that's got to affect the recruiting footprint in some way. And then looking at the guys who are in player development, Chris Bryant played more recently there. Same with Denard Robinson. So, Steve, when you have these guys who know the Michigan way, how does that not only impact the development of current players, but also help recruits buy into the program?
Well, another program that's like that, that's had a ton of success and won a couple national championships, is Clemson, right? You look at the Clemson coaching staff and off-field people, and it's guys that are so passionate about Clemson because they went there and played there, and it means a lot to them. And I think that's obviously the same at Michigan, and that really impacts your culture. And Coach Harbaugh is obviously a big culture guy, but the buy-in that he has for his staff, the passion, the blood, sweat, and tears that those guys put into that program, it means so much to them. And that culture, they set the foundation, and it rubs off on the players. And then you look at Michigan's locker room, and you see guys like Blake Corum and Ronnie Bell, Eric All, Luke Schoonemaker, and Ryan Hayes on the O-line, and then flipping over to defense, Mozzie Smith, Michael Barrett, DJ Turner. There's so many great leaders on this Michigan football team, and I think it's because of the culture. And so your leaders, your senior leaders, your upperclassmen, when these freshmen, when these young blue chippers come on the campus, or these other guys that were gems that Michigan found on the trail that were maybe looked over by other schools, they come in, and the tone is set from the staff to the upperclassmen that this is the way we do things at Michigan. This is our culture, and everybody falls in line. And I think a big part of that is the staff that Coach Harbaugh's put together. A lot of Michigan men that have a lot of pride in that school and want to help it find those extra wins at the end of the season.
Okay, so they got the culture, they got the development. If you want to win big, you still need the raw talent. You still need blue chips on the roster. And one of those guys is visiting the Big House this weekend. Nyckoles Harbor, a 5-star athlete, one of the best in the country. He just made his visit to South Carolina last weekend. How's he feeling about this upcoming trip?
Yeah, 6'5", 225 pounds, the number one athlete recruit in the country, could play receiver, tight end, defensive end, outside linebacker. I think he's leaning towards playing offense, and all the schools recruiting him have kind of pivoted to that, which I think is a good thing for Michigan, because he's already built a great relationship with Ron Bellamy, the receivers coach, and Grant Newsome, the tight ends coach. Two Michigan grads, as you said, that are courting this young man to come to Michigan. And talking to his dad today, they're really excited to get the academic tour of Michigan. This is Nyckoles' third time on campus. It'll be the second time for Dad, but the first time really looking at the football program, because the last time was a track and field deal. And when I say track and field, y'all know by now, Nyckoles Harbor is one of the elite sprinters in the country. Track's going to be a major factor in his decision. This is a young man that aspires to play football at the highest level, run in the Olympics, and then when it's all said and done, be a doctor at the end of that road. So getting the academic tour at Michigan is going to be big, and I know that Michigan's got big plans to showcase what they do academically. He's obviously going to get a chance to go to the game. He went to the South Carolina game last week. That was his dad's first ever college football game, and he said that the stadium was vibrating with 80,000 folks inside South Carolina Stadium. We know, Grace, at Michigan, it's going to be well over 100,000 people inside the Big House. So that could be a different experience in itself right there, as Michigan opens this Big Ten season against Maryland. It's homecoming weekend in Ann Arbor. So I think there's going to be a lot of pageantry on the Wolverines campus, and for them to soak in. And they're going to get their Saturday morning. So Michigan's going to get 2 full days with Nyckoles in the Sunday, and get a chance to get around the other recruits, players on the team. I know that's something that Nyckoles has enjoyed at South Carolina. So an opportunity to see if he's like-minded with the players in the Michigan locker room. And I think Michigan's in good shape. Obviously, he's got an official visit scheduled to LSU October 7th. That's the only other trip he has scheduled. But I think Michigan has everything he's looking for in a school. So we'll see how this weekend visit goes.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere there. And a couple of top recruits just got to experience it, Chris Peel and Caden McDonald. Now the Wolverines are eyeing several O-line targets. I know the big men love what they saw on Saturday from the current Michigan O-line, setting up J.J. McCarthy nicely for all those bubble screens. They're one of the best groups blocking the edge in college football. So what's the outlook for some of these recruits coming up?
And I apologize, the allergies. It's about to be 90 degrees here this week in the middle of summer in the Midwest. My throat is itching right here. But Michigan, they're itching to get several more offensive linemen. They're in the thick of it for DJ Chester. They're in the mix for Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu. They already have 2 good ones in the fold, Amir Herring and Evan Link, but offensive line, a big priority for Michigan down the stretch. But Nyckoles Harbor and Nathan Afobe, another offensive lineman visiting this weekend, they're the relevant guys right now.